COVID-19 and from road accidents. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Parents are stocking up on school supplies to prepare their children for in-person classes, but as Paige Javier reports, vendors are struggling to keep their prices low to bring in more customers.
It's back to the classroom for millions of students in a few days. But vendors say sales of school supplies and uniforms are still slow. They acknowledge their prices are high because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hindi pa ganun kabili. Nabibigla ang tao kasi napakamahal ngayon ng paninda. Kaunti ang gawa na papel. Kaya bihira ang meron.
Choices are also fewer with lesser stores selling school supplies. Notebooks cost 140 pesos for a pack of 10, while paper products like notepads are low in supply. A dozen set of pencils is worth 80 pesos, while ballpens sell for 65. Crayons do not come cheap either. Despite these prices, shoppers still choose to buy here than in malls.
Malaki talaga ang mamumura mo dito, unlike sa mga mall. Kaso nga lang ngayon kasi, kakaunti lang. Dati doon, ito yung hilera niyan, maraming nagtitinda ng school supplies.
Same lang siya. Medyo mura lang po ng konti. Last year dito rin po kami bumibili.
Sobrang mahal nga eh. Pero kailangan naman talaga bumili kasi kailangan ng mga bata.
They say they don't mind the additional expenses since they prefer face-to-face classes for the kids. It's the same case for those looking for school uniforms which are not mandatory. Prices of polos, skirts, pants, and shorts now range from 100 to 200 pesos depending on the size. Vendors say their usual buyers or suki are slowly coming back. They expect a horde of last-minute shoppers next week, right before the school reopening on August 22nd.
Dadami pa yan kasi iba walang pera pa isa-isa.
Pag may listahan na sila, sunod-sunod na yan. Mula umaga, pag may listahan na sila, sunod-sunod na yan. Mula umaga hanggang gabi yan, 1 week na mabili. Dadagsa yung mga tao.
The Trade Department released its updated list of suggested retail prices for school supplies, or SRP, Thursday night. Vendors hope that their prices will encourage more sales before schools officially.
The government's no-contact apprehension policy, aside from the supposed excessive fines that need to be addressed.
Another dun sa issue that the owner of the vehicle or the registered owner of the vehicle based on its plate number is the one being liable, no, for some traffic violations. Kahit na hindi siya yung nag-drive, no? Siguro yun, constitutional question din yun because walang due process doon, no? So other than that, no, yung madalas tanungin ng taong bayan, no, sino ba talaga nag-i-implement ng traffic regulation sa buong NCR? Is it the MMDA or each and every LGU? No, honestly, I don't really mind as long as it is clear.
Barbers wants the policy implementation investigated as he says the system is becoming a source of corruption. The MMDA yesterday said it respects the autonomy of all local governments in crafting their own traffic regulations, adding it will cooperate with other government agencies to ensure a more efficient implementation. When we return, prices of basic commodities continue to soar, with several supermarkets joining the upward trend in prices. And as thousands of Filipino families go hungry, a Senate bill suggests that the key may be in dodging food wastage. Find out more after the break. This is News 9.
DXKP Pagadian, ang inyong Radyo Ronda RPN. Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. Live to the world, pinaagi sa FB page, karon mag-download na. Pinaagi sa Google Play, og Apple Store, YouTube, og Twitter. Alang sa mas kipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran, og kalingawan. Ang mas kipakuskan nga inyong Radyo Ronda.
Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
You're watching Newsnight on CNN. Philippine senators want another investigation into the procurement service of the Budget Department, or the PSDBM. This in connection with findings released by the Commission on Audit. Senator Risa Ontiveros says she will file a resolution to probe PSDBM's reported approval of contracts for personal protective equipment, or PPE, which lack necessary certification, as well as the purchase of allegedly overpriced laptops for the Education Department. Both Senators Coco Pimentel and Alan Peter Cayetano, meanwhile, already filing separate resolutions to look into the agency's 2.4 billion peso laptop deal with DepEd. Senator Win Gatchalian also called out PSDBM, saying its purchase of outdated and overpriced laptops is a great disservice to teachers. But the group behind the joint venture linked to the alleged overpriced laptops earlier said the units were fully compliant with the government's technical specifications. State auditors earlier said that the teachers' laptops purchased through the PSDBM were, quote, pricey for entry-level type laptops. PSDBM was also involved in the multi-billion peso Farmally mess investigated by the Senate last year. The Health Department guarantees it did not distribute personal protective equipment without safety certifications. This assurance after state auditors flagged PSDBM for buying over 1.3 billion pesos worth of PPEs without certificates of medical device notification. The certification ensures the quality and safety of the items. OIC Vergere notes their supplies go through careful inspection.
Last year, batches of PPEs were delivered to the Department of Health. We did our inspection, and dun po sa mga na-reject natin na items because they did not pass our standards, hindi po namin tinanggap. Ang amin lang pong dineliver sa ating mga kababayan o sa ating mga implementing units would be those which had been approved by our inspectorate na meron siyang dekalidad na standard.
The DOH is asking the PSDBM for more details about the supplies mentioned in the COA report, but it notes the procurement arm also purchases stocks for other agencies. President Bongbong Marcos picks FIVOLC's Director Renato Solidum as the new Science and Technology Secretary. Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles confirming his appointment this afternoon. Solidum, a geologist, was DOST Undersecretary for Disaster Risk Reduction and Climate Change Adaptation and FIVOLC's Director. Senator Risa Ontiveros is seeking to investigate almost 7 billion pesos worth of supposedly questionable releases made by the Commission on Higher Education. That's after the Commission on Audit flagged an attached agency under the CHED, the Unified Student Financial Assistance System for Tertiary Education, or UNIFAST, which implements the distribution of financial subsidy for college students. Ontiveros says among the supposed leakages that were highlighted in COA's latest report include more than 3 billion pesos worth of delayed and non-submission of billings and documents, and more than 1 billion pesos worth of delayed release of financial benefits. CHED Chairman Prospero De Vera says his office is taking Ontiveros' allegations seriously De Vera maintains allegedly questionable releases were addressed in CHED's reply to COA, while observations requiring action were already corrected. Consumers are now feeling the pinch of expensive basic goods, with a group of supermarkets seeing a hike of about 6 to 10%. Stanley Gahete filed this report.
The increase in prices of goods remains unabated. 3 days ago, many basic items were already selling at higher prices. Today, they are even more expensive. Fresh eggs, for example, increased by almost 1 peso and 50 centavos, while salted eggs rose by 3 pesos. Dried fish increased by 20 pesos. From 60 pesos per kilo 3 days ago, now it's 80 pesos. A kilo of dried squid sells for a whopping 1,000 pesos.
Tumaas daw mga feeds eh. Mataas ang ano nila eh.
Ano namin, hapunan. Ito sa opisina to. Wala talagang bawas, no?
Wala. Mahal eh.
Kita mo, 1,000, wala pang bawas, no?
The country has been reeling from a sugar shortage in the past few months due to missed production target caused by weather disturbances and high input cost. The price of wash and white sugar is up by 20 pesos per kilo. Flour also increased by 20 pesos per kilo. Even salt increased by 5 pesos. Vegetable prices have also been going up. Carrots are now 90 to 100 pesos per kilo. Garlic is at 90 to 120 pesos per kilo. Imported ginger is now 120 pesos per kilo, while potatoes are now 80 pesos per kilo. While still expensive, there are items whose price have gone down. From 200 pesos per kilo, chicken now costs 170. Pork went down by 50 to 60 pesos per kilo, while beef tenderloin now goes for 600 pesos per kilo. Prices at supermarkets are also rising.
The cost of production, number one, nagtaas. Number two, nung March, pagpasok ng Russia sa Ukraine, disruption sa supply, hindi nakarating ang mga raw materials. Number three, mahinang demand, no? Nagpasweldo pa rin ng mga kumpanya kahit na mahina ang benta. So probably 70 plus items ang nagtaas. Last month lang yun. So this month, siguro meron ng mga 35 items na nagtaas.
Consumers say the rising prices have added to their financial woes, noting it's also the resumption of classes.
Ramdam na ramdam naman talaga. Di ba? Kulang sa budget talaga. Kaya minsan, pepe nakakautang.
Stephen Kua says a long-term solution is needed.
Mag-develop ng industries para hindi na tayo mag-import. Yun, in one simple line.
Stanley Gahete, CNN Philippines.
Sugar prices also rising. A group of sugar producers blames middlemen and not the lack of supply. The United Sugar Producers Federation, or UNIFED, notes supply is enough because the milling season has just begun.
Yung asukal nga nandyan sa merkado po, hindi na kami ang may-ari yan. Kami mga planter, mga farmers. Nabenta na namin lahat yan at 45 pesos per kilo. So, yung nasa merkado ngayon, 80 up to 100, parang sobra-sobra na yan. Ang daming mga middlemen yan, ma'am, no? From us, binibili niya ng trader. Yung trader, pinapasa sa refiners, pinarefine yung brown to white. From that, papatong na naman yung mga shippers, yung rebagger. Daming kumakana. Kung sa baga, sa eskinita, daming nag-ambush. So, yun. Ang presyo, tumataas.
UNIFED also thanks President Marcos for stopping the plan to import 300,000 metric tons of sugar.
We are already producing raw sugar. Why are you going to import raw? Sino na naman ang binigyan ng favors to? Yun ang hindi na maganda to. Iba na to. Ibang usapan na.
At a time when more Filipinos are going hungry, why is there so much food wasted and what should be done to avoid that? As Amor Santos tells us, a Senate bill seeks to address the issue.
Despite having trouble meeting their daily needs, Auring admits food is sometimes wasted in their household.
Kasi nga dito pagka ano yung ulam ng tanghali, sa gabi tamad na silang ulamin. Mapapanis na yun, wala nang mag-uulam. Nakalakahan na nila yun.
And since she's busy with her sari-sari store business and other chores,
minsan nga isdang hilaw eh. Hindi ko na napansin, nasa lababo. Nung gabi na, mabaho na. Mahal pa ng isda ngayon, 160, 180 kilo.
Karinderya owners also lament that customers are buying less and leftovers can only be reheated a few times.
Kung hindi na pwede, katulad sa mga gulay, binibigay na lang sa mga pagkain ng baboy.
In the Philippines, more than 2,500 metric tons of food are wasted every day, according to a 2018 study by the Food and Nutrition Research Institute. That's 30% more than the daily average 3 years prior.
Pwede pa?
Pwede pa siguro.
Sayang. We are earning so little. We buy food and then my food wastage.
Senator Lauren Legarda is again pushing for her Zero Food Waste Act. Under her bill, businesses are required to bring edible food waste to food banks, so this can be redistributed to those in need. Meanwhile, local government units shall enforce waste segregation efforts in every household and bring in edible food waste to management sites for recycling into fertilizer or compost.
Meron talaga tayong RA 9003. Kailangan nating mag-implement ng food waste reduction programs, yung mga barangays, yung mga LGUs, yan. Kaso it's just poorly implemented.
Advocates believe this could have been avoided if surplus food is given to the needy. They say this utter food waste needs to stop and it should start at home. From planning meals ahead to reinventing leftovers, a nutritionist says be innovative. Even rotten tomatoes or kangkong stems can be planted to grow fresh ones. And try some old tricks in preserving food. She also stands by the first in, first out policy to ensure that goods are consumed before expiry.
Kung ano yung food item na unang masisira, yun yung ilalagay mo sa harap ng freezer mo. Kapag bukas mo ng freezer mo, yun agad yung madali mong makukuha.
And if it cannot be avoided, the Worldwide Fund for Nature offers assistance in bokashi composting, so discarded food won't contribute to climate change.
It doesn't mean that you have the license already to waste your food, diba? Na dapat pa rin prevention at source pa rin talaga yung first nating ginagawa.
While the government may have a lot on its plate, advocates say this decades-old problem should also be given priority. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
Up ahead, actress Liza Soberano is set to make her debut in the international movie scene. And Filipino K-pop fans are in for more treats. Chart-topping act NCT 127 is coming to Manila next month. More after the break.
RPN DXKP Pagadian.
Ang inyong Radyo Ronda RPN. Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. Live to the world, pinaagi sa FB page, karon mag-download na. Pinaagi sa Google Play, og Apple Store, YouTube, og Twitter. Alang sa mas kipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran, og kalingawan. Ang mas kipakuskan nga inyong Radyo Ronda.
Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Welcome back. Plenty of sports news today. The NBA is permanently retiring Bill Russell's jersey number 6 throughout the association. The 11-time NBA champ will be the first player to have his number retired across the league, but athletes who currently use number 6, like LeBron James, can continue wearing it. Russell died on July 31st. He was 88. And a Filipino-American rising star in the league says he's open to playing for Gilas Pilipinas. But in his exclusive interview with CNN Philippine Sports Desk, Jalen Green says he's currently focusing on the next NBA season beginning in October. Green is in the country for a tour with a sportswear brand.
Maybe one day. I'm still young, so I wanna be able to make sure that I have the chance to play for USA and everything, but maybe one day we could figure that out. Guys never changed on me; it always stay the same. For the fans or the people that has hoop dreams and is trying to make it, just stay in the gym, keep your head down.
More Pinoy pride for Filipino cagers, with the Ateneo Blue Eagles making history as the first ever World University Basketball Series champions. Ateneo swept the 3-day another day in the PBA Philippine Cup tournament, shooting past TNT Tropang Giga in Game 5 of the semis, 59-45 at the Araneta Coliseum in Quezon City. But the pressure is on for Magnolia, with TNT still one win away from the finals. The Meralco Bolts and the San Miguel Beermen currently facing off in the semis too, with Meralco carrying the lead in the second quarter, 44-41. In entertainment, these Filipino actresses are taking on a new role as a mother. Jessie Mendiola is pregnant with her first baby with TV host Luis Manzano. The couple proudly announced this in a YouTube vlog. And Isa Calzado is going from Darna to Supermom. The TV host and actress calls her pregnancy the most beautiful birthday gift as she turns 40 today. Isa also says her first baby with her non-showbiz husband, Ben Wintle, is a miracle. And this Filipino actress is proudly taking her talents to Hollywood. Liza Soberano reposted an article on her social media pages confirming she was cast in the horror comedy film Lisa Frankenstein alongside stars like Cole Sprouse of Riverdale. Liza says she is ecstatic to be part of the movie based on the classic novel Frankenstein. This one's for Pinoy NCTzens. The chart-topping K-pop group NCT 127 is coming to the Philippines. Neo City, Manila. The Link is happening on September 4th at the Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay City. Tickets are up for sale by August 21st, with prices ranging from 3,500 to 12,000 pesos. The September excitement extends to 18 or fans of SB19, with the P-pop act revealing its concert tour kicks off next month. The video teaser also says a new single will drop in September. And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
Our bodies are meant to move. Not only can physical activity lower the risks of hypertension, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, and cancer, but it can also beat depression as well as anxiety. But what if your budget prevents you to enroll or hire a fitness instructor? In this episode, we'll walk you through ways to be fit anywhere and anytime. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Our guests are here today to give insights on workouts for a healthy lifestyle on a budget. With us is Dr. Juliet Balderas. She's a cardiologist from the Philippine Heart Center. Also with us is Coach Jay Garcia. He's a certified medical exercise and weight management specialist from the American Council on Exercise. The World Health Organization defines physical activity as any bodily movement produced by our skeletal muscles that requires energy expenditure. Now, according to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, physical activity reduces many major health conditions, which include hypertension, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, and cancer, adding that deaths caused by these diseases decrease by about 30 to 35% in physically active subjects as compared to inactive. When we talk about physical activity, what exactly is it that makes our body healthier kapag mas active ang isang tao?
Putting it all together of a mild exercise which we do every day. Kaya ngayon nagiging uso ang diba? Number of steps walked. Number of steps walked, would it equate to a physical exercise? So our objective is to spend the calories that you might have gained and spend it on exercise. So it's an energy expenditure, which is the objective with physical activity.
Pag sinabi nating physical activity, pareho lang ba ito? Is it synonymous with the term exercise? If not, how are these two different?
Exercise is 30 minutes to 1 hour. So what physical activities would require for strength, tapos muscles, that will equate to caloric expenditure. Pag sinabi mong exercise, then it is more vigorous para 15 to 30 minutes lang. Versus physical activity, it's the ordinary activity that you do to equate the expenditure that you might get in a 15 to 30 minutes exercise. So yun po ang difference.
Several factors can limit anyone at any age from certain movements, and this can include levels in strength, a person's age, as well as, most importantly, their health condition. Are there certain age groups, maybe genders, or even body conditions that are only limited to a certain set of physical activities? Kumbaga, kailangan hindi ba one size fits all, kumbaga, ang mga exercise routines na pwedeng gawin?
For example, may health risk yung tao, so we have to assess that first before we give them workout. Ang misconceptions kasi dito sa atin, or kahit saan naman, is the physical activity or resistance training will stunt the growth of a younger person, which is not true kasi major fitness centers all over the world and major health organizations are recommending resistance training for all walks of life. Then tapos, ang pinaka-goal natin dito, especially for the younger generation, is yung magkaroon sila to develop a habit to improve the attitude about feeling of activity. So makikerry nila yan towards adult life nila.
Paano bang pinakamagandang malaman ng mga viewers natin kung anong activity ang angkop para sa kanila?
Before we conduct a fitness program, before we give them, we usually give them PARQ. Or ito yung this is to simplify it, it's a readiness questionnaire. So may checklist siya, it's pre-approved na scientifically proven. Then kapag meron siyang yes sa isa dun sa 7 questions na yun, we refer them to medical professionals to further assess them. Then after that, if it's cleared by the doctor, we give them specific kung ano yung kailangan nila, depending also on their goal.
Pag-usapan naman natin yung mga elderly. Is exercise still important kapag may edad na ang isang tao? Kasi at a certain age, pwedeng meron silang mobility issues. Pwedeng meron silang ibang pre-existing condition, a heart condition for that matter. Is exercise still part of a healthy program para sa mga taong ito?
So there has to be a cardiac clearance for these patients kasi meron silang hypertension o kaya yung heart rate nila has to be seen. But in as much as they are allowed to do exercise, they have to. Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na, is it a passive exercise? Pwede din, passive exercise or active exercise. So in all age groups, they have to be conditioned para somehow they can do some physical activity depending upon the age. Kaya sa elderly, di ba, meron tayong walking. It can still equate some kind of physical activity which is needed for good health.
Pag-usapan natin kung ano yung mga health risks that a person may have kapag hindi nila ginagawa ang exercise, kapag mababa ang kanilang physical activity despite being healthy overall.
Exercise is really a function of weight gain, obesity. Obesity is hypertension. So you have a lot of health risk pag obese ka, no? Yung sa diabetes number 1, hypertension, no? So if you gain weight, yung obesity na BMI mo, sabi nila high risk for obesity, high risk for diabetes. So physical activity and diet are the functions to decrease obesity at hypertension. Physical activity nga sa hypertension will decrease the hypertension by 30%. with the medication.
Now, after the break, we'll share tips on how you can stay fit if you are on a budget. Keep it right here on MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. You don't need to go far from home to do some physical activities. You can hit two birds with one stone by doing chores at home. Coach Jay, can you give us some household chores that can translate to a workout, even maybe a full workout? Pwede ba yun?
Pwede naman, Doc. Ang misconception din kasi na gusto natin correct on that you can only burn calories kapag nag-exercise ka. So mali po iyon. So, ang exercise is a small part of your caloric expenditure. May tinatawag tayong NEAT or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So, ito yung mga activity outside of exercise. We do household work, or we do gardening, we do groceries. So, makakatulong siya lahat para ma-improve natin yung basal metabolic rate natin, which in the long run, mas magbe-benefit kayo and mas makaka-burn kayo ng maraming calories.
Pwede pa rin bang maging physically active and healthy kahit na minimal lang ang pawis?
Yung pawis kasi is not always a good indicator of a good workout. So for example, yung temperature kasi natin, it affects, di ba, kung papawisan tayo or hindi. So mas maganda, scientifically, we professionals, we use the heart rate training zone or the zone 3. So yung zone training, ang ginagawa namin, we identify two threshold markers. Ito yung ventilatory threshold 1 and ventilatory threshold 2.
We'll talk about heart rates and the best way to achieve those target heart rates safely later on in the show. But first, we are talking about household chores and how those activities can increase your physical activity and even lead to exercise. But how about the things that we do enjoy doing, such as hobbies? Could this be considered a workout? Coach Jay, pag-usapan natin yon. Are there fun activities that can get our hearts pumping at the same time burn those much-needed calories?
Everyday activities natin is considered as zone 1. Ibig sabihin ito, during this interview, while I'm watching you asking us questions or kahit nakaupo lang ako dito, I'm spending energy already. So ibig sabihin, yung mga na-enjoy natin like walking the dog or siguro ibang forms of exercise like doing yoga or doing dancing, lahat nagsusum up. We don't have to limit the exercise on the gym time alone kasi ang gym time, it only takes for about 1 hour or maximum 2 hours of your day. So the rest, the 22 hours, ikaw yung may control nun, not your coach, not the exercise program that you're doing. So the more you move in a particular day, the more ka mas nag-burn ng calories. In fact, may study, yung mga nag-workout vigorously in a day, is mas less pa sila nag-burn kung hindi rin naman sila gumagalaw throughout the day. So mas beneficial po talaga kapag may ginagawa tayong other form of activities rather than doing exercise alone.
So marami talagang activities na pwedeng mag-translate into good physical activity and fitness for that matter. Now, Dr. Juliet, ang tanong is, does the physical activity matter? Or kung gaano ka taas umaabot ang heart rate natin doon sa binanggit na target heart rate, is the level of heart rate more important than the actual activity? Kumbaga, is cooking considered an exercise as long as it gets us to that target heart rate?
Well, the heart rate increases depending sa activity kasi cooking might not increase your heart rate as much. So, hindi medyo mild to moderate siya. So, it is the activity that will increase the heart rate. So, talagang parang directly proportional yung dalawa. No, a moderate activity, higher heart rate. So, your heart rate might make you get the target heart rate more than a mild activity. So, just cooking probably might not be enough to achieve the physical fitness or caloric expenditure that you like for an exercise. So, more activities might be better than just cooking.
Now, after the break, we'll discuss how knowing your heart rate zone can help you in your overall fitness and health. Only here on MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. One of the ways to know that if you can keep up with the demands of a physical activity is your heart rate zone. Dr. Juliet, pag-usapan natin naman yung heart rate ng isang tao. How important is it? Is there a way that they can physically know kung anong heart rate zone nasaan sila without the use of a heart rate monitor?
Basically, for you to know your maximum heart rate, your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. So if you are 45 years of age, 220 minus 45. Then you have what you call your resting heart rate. Your resting heart rate is your heart rate when you don't have an activity. So you subtract now your target heart rate minus the resting heart rate is your target heart rate. So what happens is during an activity, you don't have to go in excess of your computed heart rate. Kailangan, if you have a moderate activity, it should be only between 60 to 75% of your computed heart rate. And then if you have a severe activity, it should be 75 to 93% of your computed heart rate. So exceeding that might be a health hazard. That's why sometimes we have sudden death during exercise. So keeping your heart rate within range, within heart rate, during moderate to severe exercise is very important.
Meron bang paraan, Dr. Juliet, na malaman nila? Is there a way to gauge kung ano ang adequate heart rate kapag nag-exercise ang isang tao? Could conversation be a good clue?
It's not moderate to severe. Conversation is not moderate to severe. So I think it's very safe now. If your heart rate is, resting heart rate is 60 to 80, maximum of 100 during conversation might be enough.
Okay, so a rough guide for our viewers, if you're doing any physical activity, if you are still able to converse in intelligible sentences with someone or you can talk, that means that you are still in an okay zone when it comes to your heart rate. If you cannot speak, meaning your effort is so high that you cannot speak clearly anymore, then that you are reaching your maximum heart rate already by then. Now, adequate sleep of 6 to 8 hours or longer will help your body recover from muscle injury, inflamed joints, and so on. Why does the body need to rest after a workout?
Magandang question yan kasi it's connect pa rin dun sa zone of intensity natin. So, the intensity of training natin. So, to add lang din yung sinasabi kanina ni Dr. about the maximum heart rate so we can connect it all. Ang determining factor natin kapag nasa zone 1 ka or low intensity level is yung nakakausap ka pa ng matino, na nakapag-verbalize ka pa. Kapag nasa zone 2 ka na moderate intensity, ito naman yung medyo challenge ng pagsasalita, hindi ka na comfortable. Kapag nasa zone 3 ka na, yung na intensity or maximum heart rate which is 70 to 90%, ito na yung nakakapagsalita ka pero pa isa-isang words na lang. So, important ito sa amin to determine yung recovery zone din ng isang client or pasyente. For example, if you're familiar with the HIIT program, di ba? Ang HIIT program kasi, ang structure niya is working on a zone 3 or intense level of exercise. Kaya kapag nag-HIIT ka, if you guys nakagawa na ng isang HIIT program, hindi ka naman nakakapagsalita during the workout. Tapos, after a specific exercise, bumababa yung intensity level, ibinabalik namin yung heart rate. We're trying to bring down your heart rate to a zone 1 level para ma-replenish yung tinatawag natin na ATP. Kasi yung kapag nasa zone 3 ka, yung ginagamit mo na dyan na source of energy is yung ATP mo is yung naka-store na lang sa muscles mo, which is very limited.
Okay.
Kaya nagkakaroon siya ng mga waste products na nararamdaman natin parang nag-burn na yung muscles natin. So we have to rest. So yung pag bumalik ka na sa zone 1 level ulit, nagre-recover ulit yung body mo kasi you're utilizing again oxygen and you're stored fat.
So the recovery phase, basically after a good workout, is to replenish those muscles of their vitally needed nutrients, and a recovery is definitely as important as a workout. Now, Coach Jay, how about diet? How important is diet? 50-50 ba ito with exercise? Some people say, hindi ko kailangan mag-diet kasi win-workout ko naman ito. What's the risk? What's the danger in this kind of thinking?
Sabi nga nila, Doc, no, you cannot outrun a bad diet, which is totoo. Kasi we're talking about your caloric expenditure. If we're expending energy, we should replace it. Ang problema, nagkakaroon ng imbalance between calorie intake and calorie output. So, dyan papasok yung diet. Ibig sabihin, kahit anong exercise mo, kahit anong intensity ng exercise mo, if the intake will always exceed the expenditure, you will definitely maintain your weight or gain more pa. So napaka-importante talaga ng diet. So sa diet naman, it works. Marami ring mga iba't ibang studies dyan. So para sa akin, what you need to do is to choose a diet program na mag-work for you. But of course, kailangan based pa rin yan sa safety and scientific evidence.
So we definitely learned a lot, especially about what works, what physical activity is, and of course, that's what we want to promote and eventually move on to some really good health beneficial exercise. Thank you very much, Dr. Juliet Balderas and Coach Jay Garcia for being with us today and sharing your knowledge and insights with regards to being physically fit. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and we'll see you again next time here on Med Talk Health Talk.